There's only one of three possibilities what happened with this Israel-Palestine thing. And I'll call two conspiracies, although one of the conspiracies I think was actually what happened, and the official story. The official story and the first possibilities is that Israel's actual surveillance and defenses are so weak in some of these places that these primitive paragliders could come in and take over a music festival and invade from Gaza without any warning, complete surprise attack, and commit these horrible atrocities. That's the official story. Conspiracy theory one, second possibility, which is what I actually think happened, is that there are reports from the BBC, the Times of Israel, that Egypt had warned Israel that the attacks were going to happen up to 3 days beforehand. And this has been confirmed by the head of the House of Representatives of Foreign Affairs Committee, Michael McCaul, who is Republican, by the way. So the second possibility, the conspiracy, is that Netanyahu looked away knowing that they could then turn around and use that as an excuse to finally run Gaza over. Because if you look at the language coming out of the Israeli brass about how these people are rats who need to be exterminated, well, that sounds bad if there isn't an attack first. Why not sacrifice a couple hundred people when you could take out a couple million? Cut off their water, cut off their electricity, do a full-scale ground invasion. No one's going to say, no, you got attacked first. So if you look the other way, you can get what you want. And eventually, I would almost guarantee that the West Bank is next. And it serves as another purpose for them. Israel and Saudi Arabia have begun peace talks this year. And Saudi Arabia and their biggest rival in the region, Iran, established diplomatic communication again for the first time in years. If you're Israel and you see like, hey, the two Arab nations that used to hate each other are kind of buddying up, well, I'm talking to Saudi Arabia first, and look what happened. Oh, Hamas, Iran-funded Hamas comes in, attacks us. Look, Saudi Arabia, this is what they're up to. It could drive a wedge between the two Arab countries. That could also be a goal. A lot of purposes to looking the other way. In fact, Israel called this their 9/11, which some people believe that the U.S. government knew the attacks were happening, looked the other way, so then they could further their agenda. If it's truly their 9/11, those questions have to be brought up. That's conspiracy theory one, which I think is probably the real thing. Now, my second conspiracy theory is way more dark, and it's probably not what's happening. But here's the idea. Israel is talking to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is talking to Iran. Everyone in the region is like, hey, let's establish communication with each other. Well, if you're in that part of the world, you got to talk about the Palestinian problem. See, what people don't realize about that part of the world is that the Palestinians aren't well liked by other Arab nations. Arab nations tend to be very in and of themselves. Egypt closed its border to Palestinian refugees. Palestinians have been kicked out of Kuwait before. In Lebanon and Syria, they've had problems with Palestinian refugees. In some of those places, Lebanon, I believe they've even fought them. Palestinians are second-class citizens everywhere they go, treated terribly. They are not well liked in the Arab world. So, if you're the three big powers of the Middle East, and you start talking and you start going, hey, what do we do with the Palestinian problem? Well, maybe you could be like, hey, if you're Israel, you could tell Saudi Arabia, hey, tell Iran to send Hamas over our border, Gaza. We'll sacrifice a couple of our own. We'll use that to push out, take Gaza Strip. At the same time, Iran, you can be like, hey, Israel, if you attack us, we'll go to war, because that's what Iran's been saying, and there's no reason for Israel to attack Iran. There's no reason. But with Iran saying that publicly, Israel can be like, hey, United States, we need money. There's a potential for war where we're attacked on all sides. Iran can then go to Russia, being like, look, Israel is getting this much money from the United States. Saudi Arabia can look at the U.S. like, hey, give us money. We can be the war. If war breaks out here, we can be the ones to make sure to fight on your behalf in here because we're such close allies. And then everyone is getting money from the Western powers, and no one actually attacks. So you can get rid of the Palestinians, take that problem away from everyone in the region, and then get money from everybody. So you can get rid of a problem, get richer, and they're all sort of working together. That's conspiracy theory number 3. And I don't know which one is real, but I do know that I need the Miami Dolphins to comment on what they think is real.